Hi, I'm Michael Matthews. Today I want to talk about introducing newbies to role-playing games and also trying to counter some bad jamming advice that I've recently seen. So, a lot of people are really bad at teaching people board games, multiplayer video games, or role-playing games. We had a roommate at one point who, what he would do if he would play a fighting game with someone who'd never played before, even at like parties, he would get angry and like break out his best person so he could just demolish whoever he was playing with, and everyone else was sort of playing for fun, and he would learn how to basically god mode or take advantage of them, making other people not have fun and not want to keep playing. So we put rules on it for him, as he was being a dick. If I'm teaching someone a board game or something for the first time, I walk them through. I will make mistakes on purpose to see if they spot it. That way, if they see it, they feel kind of smart that they've caught the thing. If they don't, I can point it out. They can see how to counter it. I'm playing with them so that they can have fun, not to pound them into the dirt. I want them to understand what's going on, and I don't want them to feel like I've demolished them. My dad once got I taught him how to play Go, made those mistakes so we could see it. He won that game. He got a little cocky, so then I demolished him on the second one. And was at least okay at Go. I wasn't great, but Go is a game where if you are even a decent chunk better than the other person, you're going to see all sorts of things they don't. While someone who is professional ranked or at that level, like a friend of mine was, demolished me. So, when you are running a role-playing game for the first time with someone who's never played, some people have already bought all in. They might want the hardcore experience. You might have talked to them about this. They want the thing that they've seen where, like, oh man, this thing could kill us, and then they may already be all in which case, this is not as big a deal, though some of these things are important. But sometimes you have someone who thinks it looks neat, but they haven't given it a shot. They're a little nervous about it because it's weird. I tell this to my theater students all the time. What we do on stage is weird and awkward, and if you just did it in the middle of a Walmart at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, people are going to stare and maybe call security. These are the ones that you want them to have a good time. You want to basically show them the things they find interesting in the game and help supply that to them. You want them to come back. Find out the thing that they're interested in and cater a little bit to it. Do they think combat seems cool? Give them a little one to show them what the combat's like, and then something else where they can do something cool while the rest of the party is also doing their thing, but give them their time to shine. Don't let them be the person who's just picking up little things here and there from the rest of them. If they like role-playing, give them a chance to interact with someone. Don't make it just a strict dungeon crawl if they're like wanting to get into character and all they get to do all night is combat or moving themselves along a portion of the world via hexes. Do they want to be like super sneaky and see what that's like? Give them a chance to sneak into a place. Let them do the thing. And maybe fudge a little bit. Show them, here's the difficulties, here's this. You roll, not necessarily making it so that they have an easy win button, but give them some training wheels. Give them a few options. Let them see what's going on. The things you probably shouldn't do. 1, don't TPK the party. This idea like, oh, we're going to kill all of you. That's often the GM deciding to just smash everybody else because you have the ultimate power to do that if that's the kind of game you're playing. Frustration doesn't tend to bring people back in. If it feels like nothing they do matters, why play? Why not read the book that you clearly want to write? Give them their chances to feel awesome. Let them put the training wheels on a little bit. Give them a challenge, but do highlight them. Give them some place where they can do the thing that this kind of character they're playing that makes them cool. If they've got a thief, make sure what they're doing can use the thief to do something. It's the same way that in a piece of fiction, when a new character is introduced, they show them doing the thing that they're really cool at. Now, the opposite part of this, superhero stories or stories where you have lots of power very often bring in someone and make them nigh invulnerable in the first time you meet them, but then they become just another person that they might fight or not as powerful as the rest of the party. But give them that chance to do something awesome. Let them learn a little bit slowly how things work. Don't try to just drown them in all this rule-intensive stuff on some of these systems. Some of them, there's a whole lot to take in. Tell them not to worry about so much at first. You know what? Right now, don't worry about all these different options. We'll help you with these things. But intro it to them in little bits and pieces. Don't make them feel like they're jumping into, Pathfinder, where everyone's got all, 15 million different options, and they're sitting there looking at these, 4 sheets worth of stuff, not sure what to do. Take it a little bit easy on them. Your main point is you want them coming back. You want them to be a part of this hobby. You want them to have fun. They might get the feel for that challenge-based thing, or where failure becomes where it's part of the fun. But when starting off, being too punishing is a way of making someone feel like, oh, this is just a thing where I don't get to do anything cool. Let them do the cool things. Let them do what they want. Take it a little bit easy on them and reel it out slowly. The thing that goes along with this is a GMing mindset thing that I saw recently, and I saw a ton of super bad GM advice on a Facebook post. Basically, the players had left where the story was supposed to be. They went somewhere else. And the person's like, well, how do I get them back? Well, first of all, this means that you have created a story that doesn't involve the players enough where it matters if they leave or not. That's a problem in making the adventure that they're a part of. I don't always tie the characters directly into something because I do an inciting incident, and then I see what they're interested in, and then I follow where they're going. If you happen to be looking at my Legends of the Wulin game going right now, the thing I thought might be the center of it, the Falling Leaves Society and the Resplendent Phoenix Society, these two large pillars of the Wulin who are coming to a head because this head of another one of the main pillars is leaving and opening it up to anyone. I thought they might be more interested in that. They, one of the players literally was asking the other in character, well, are we worried about this? They're like, no, we're more worried about these terrorists from the Fire Doctrine who are coming in and trying to escalate what's going on between them. The players are more interested in the Fire Doctrine, which is awesome for me, because it wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't kind of what I prepped for, but now I get to play with the Fire Doctrine. Now I get to really kind of delve into this cult, which is not an antagonist group I've used in Legends of the Wulin before. The times I've run it in the past, I've generally fallen back on the Black Lotus, which feels like your standard sort of villain group for that. The Fire Cult, I get to do some interesting things with, and I'm really looking forward to it, but they're very clear this is the thing that they're interested in outside of their personal stories, and because the things that are happening in this city are a way to get their personal stories involved in these bigger things that they are interested in, I'm going to go where they're interested. Fire Cult's going to become the number one thing. The other part's going to take a back seat. It'll still be happening. I'm not forgetting it. I'm not leaving it. They're the reason the Fire Cult's there and what they're trying to do. It's just not going to be as vital. So this GM had players just literally leave town. And some of the advice I saw was basically about punishing the party. Kill them! Kill them or increase the amount of random encounters they have, send assassins, do all this stuff to get them back. And that's childish. It's a bad way to go. It's you passively aggressively punishing players for not doing the story that you, in your head, thought that they were going to do. We had an improv show once several years ago where one of the other people in the group started a scene. He called my character. And I didn't know he wanted me to play a character that I was playing previously, which happens, and there's usually some little things little nudges they can get you back onto that, and you can take care of it. But the scene did not go where he thought. And it kind of fizzled out, and afterwards he's like, oh, well, I thought I was going to do this, and you were going to do that, and they were going to do that. It's like, dude, I was not in your head. If I've not explained to you this is the sort of thing that's happening, it's not my fault if I go off your script. The best GMing is not a script that you have already figured out. They should do this, 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 and this. There are definitely times where these things are probably going to lead to this, is probably going to lead to this. Having some of those tent poles there is not a bad thing. I have them. I'll use them from time to time. Or you just kind of know this is clearly moving towards this end goal, this end villain, this thing, because it's just the nature of stories. But a lot of stuff in the middle, I personally don't want to know where it's going, because if I know ahead of time, why are we playing the game? I want to be surprised. But all this stuff about just passively aggressively punishing them is bad jamming. If you really are at the point where, like, listen, the kind of prep that I do, the kind of GM that I am, if you go over here, I am a complete and total loss. I'm not sure what to do. It is better for you just to say it. And there's times where I've had to say, listen, can we stop for tonight, because I do want to take more time to prep this thing you're going to in ways I don't normally, because I want it to be as cool as it could be. In my Unknown Armies campaign, they decided to go after the Ordo Corpulentus, which is essentially a cult of billionaire cannibals, and they went guns blazing a whole lot earlier than I had ever thought. So I put some of this stuff together, and I don't remember how far we were through, but maybe I was a bit tired or we're getting towards the end, and I'm looking at it going, you know what, that's awesome. Can we call it here tonight, because I want a little bit more time to make this as interesting as it could be. That's a win for the players, because they're like, oh, awesome, we did this stuff they weren't expecting. It's kind of cool. It makes an interesting story, particularly if your GM is usually very good about pivoting as you go. It also lets you know they are interested in. You can even talk to them a little bit about what interests them and put some of that stuff in the prep for it. The problem when you have your story, if the players don't go where you want them to, is punishing them for it is not how we treat adults. It's not how we treat people we respect. Just telling them, listen, the story is over here. Can you go back there? In every other art form, a lot of time is spent hiding the seams. In improv, a lot of it happens in rehearsals, and the other people are there to help kind of come in. Like, you've had a lot of practice on hiding those seams. In drafts of things, like with writing, you come back and you fix the things up that would look kind of ugly and not work right, because you've had that time to smooth it all out. In rehearsals for theater, this is kind of all we do. That's the whole rehearsal process, is to make it seem natural and flowing. Role-playing games are closer to improv in the fact that they're kind of being spun out in the moment. You're never quite sure where it's going to go. There's always going to be little things in there, even in something that's pretty well plotted, that might surprise you, that hopefully surprise you. And in an improv show, an audience is much more willing to, and not just willing, but actually kind of eager sometimes for seeing some of those seams a little loose. When they see the fact that, like, right now nobody's quite sure what to do, there's an energy there that makes it exciting, which is one of the reasons, like, taped improv often doesn't work particularly well. Like, Whose Line, they do a lot of there's sort of tricks and things that they do to make it much more watchable, and those sort of games are very gameable. But a lot of times improv, if you're watching it and it's on tape, you're not there, it falls flat. Partly because it's missing that energy of the moment. It's been taped. You're not someone watching it happen in front of them for the very first time it's being done. That happens in role-playing games. Sometimes the seams are there. Let them see it. It's fine. When you're with new players, they're going to have seams all over the place. They're going to have the places where they're not sure. It's totally cool. They have not gotten to the point where they're as used to everything as maybe the other players are, and everyone should let them feel welcome. That's part of the learning. That's part of the fun of it. And that becomes about when you respect the people that you're with, when you talk to them like you're an adult, when there's a problem or something that's not working. At the worst, if you get to the point where you figure out maybe what you're interested in is not the same thing that your players are. Maybe you are really into highly plotted out stories and your players aren't. Maybe this is a bad fit. But talk to them. And I think most of the time what you're going to find is something where you actually can find that thing that all of you enjoy. And that's not only important for current players when things go wrong, but the brand new players, even more so. Take that time. Get to know them. Have fun with it, and don't feel the rush for everything to be at the top level, or even the level you might expect from players who've been around for a long time. So, overall, it comes down to respect. It comes down to not being afraid to say this thing went well, this thing didn't. Anyway, see you next week. If you like it, go ahead, hit like, hit share, or subscribe to it. You can put something on the 8-minute story challenge. I'm hoping to get to that this weekend because school is starting. where I've got at least one in the backlog where you give me a genre and a song, and then I create basically a story starter or campaign starter from it. Have yourself a wonderful evening.